So earlier this week, a 15-year-old shot and killed his father, who was abusing his mother. So, will the 15-year-old be going to jail, or will he be walking free? Well, Melissa Marquez of Crime 411 will fill us in now on the Joe Padula Show. Absolutely. Hey, don't forget to click subscribe, hit that like button, leave your comments. We'll get to them, and definitely help us out and share this video as we continue to fight the shadow ban. Crime 411, great show. Check it out on YouTube. All the links are in this live video feed. And hey, if you're listening on the iHeartRadio, if you want to see what we're seeing, just go to that Facebook page or YouTube, and boom, there we are. All right, so Crime 411, what's your mission with Crime 411?
Raise awareness on things, report news from a compassionate, empathetic viewpoint, and not just...
Did you say empathetic or pathetic?
Empathetic.
Empathetic, good. Pathetic. We're going to give a pathetic point of view on things. And yeah, I mean, your channel's growing very, very rapidly. It's very nice to see. And on this story here, it's interesting because the 15-year-old, this comes out of Georgia?
Yep.
Give us the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, why?
So, Appling, Georgia, a 15-year-old boy, Tucker, I wrote his name down because I keep forgetting, Tucker Gales. He shot and killed his father after years and years and years of physical and verbal abuse that was dished out to him, to his mom, and he said he had enough of his father abusing his mom, and he killed him.
Well, okay, let's back it up a little bit if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Okay? If this guy kept on abusing the kid and the mom, was he ever reprimanded or arrested for such abuse?
So let me refer to my notes.
Oh, you got notes.
I do, because this one's detailed.
And a piece of paper that looks like you sat on it right over here.
I did.
Look at that.
Okay, so from what I read, this has been going on since back in 2011, right? Constant abuse, constant physical abuse. Cops were called, numerous times to come out about it, but there was never enough physical evidence for them to do anything until 2017. And in 2017...
Well, if the kid's 15 years old now, so this started when he was like 6, okay.
Yeah, so he was a little guy. And this year, actually...
and explain the abuse, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll give you an example. March 20th, the father, Wesley is his name, Wesley Gales, he was charged with cruelty to children and family violence and battery. He punched his wife in the eye, kicked her in the head, busted her nose, and admitted it. When officers came out, they could clearly see that there was an altercation, and they asked him about it, and he said, yeah, this is what happened. So they arrested him. She took him back, unfortunately.
She took him back. Well, that seems to be a pattern.
7 times is the usual amount of times that a woman or someone in an abusive relationship will go back to their abuser before they finally leave.
Why that number? And Coach, have you ever heard of such a thing?
Nope.
No, right? I don't understand that pattern.
I do.
Why? What do you think it is?
It's a cycle of abuse, and it's having been through it, not physically, but having been through it myself years ago. Like, I used to always be one of those people that would say, why doesn't she just leave?
Right.
And then I became one of them, and I never said it again.
Why didn't you leave?
Well, for one, I had, at that time, I had a investor. I was doing music for a living, and we had an agreement. I was in the middle of producing an album, and the guy that I was with was my partner on it. And so if I were to leave that situation, I would have been in breach of contract with the investor, and he knew it.
What do you think this situation with this in Georgia? Why do you think she kept on accepting this guy who's been documented for going to jail for beating her and the kid?
Well, I'll tell you, in a lot of situations when it comes to domestic violence and abuse like that, it's such a gradual process that you don't recognize it until it's already so far gone that you're like, I am a shell of the person that I used to be. Like, what happened to my life? And it's very covert a lot of the time.
Okay.
A lot of the times it doesn't start physical, right? And it's mental and it's verbal. And so that cycle of abuse is, okay, here he comes again. It's a big blow up, right? And then it's, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do it again. Then it's another honeymoon stage and everything is great. And then it's like, oh, they're changing. They're finally coming around and this is going to be different. And then boom,
but in reality, it's manipulation.
It's complete manipulation.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
And it goes both ways for guys and girls.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
essentially they make you comfortable with your new norm. And now this chaos is your new norm. So like she said, it's not as visible, as easily recognizable on a daily basis because you become comfortable with it.
Right.
It's no different than not that he is this. What I'm about to say.
No, go ahead.
It's no different when you're dealing with a sex offender. They start that grooming stage, and they get them comfortable, and then they finally make their move. This is the same thing of a person who abused women or a woman that may abuse men, vice versa. They make you comfortable first.
It's also
with their chaos.
It also goes back to her saying about the verbal stage of it is they get that mindset in you that like you leave me, there's nobody else for you to protect you or have that that home for you or something like that. So
and
it does,
they will cut off your
and they will
resources
cut off your resources because
every
people are
turn.
manipulative like that in that kind of relationship.
So
They will cut
nonetheless,
off your resources. They'll keep you from your family. I remember my ex would take parts off my car so that I couldn't leave, and he would say, "Oh, the car's broken," and I had no idea what was going on.
what do you mean? Like what kind of parts?
Just whatever,
Hey, your tire's missing. I'm sorry, I don't know
like
what
the
happened.
alternator would be,
An alternator?
Oh,
just whatever. And then I
Damn.
remember one time he said the car was stolen. And I was like this. And at this time, I started realizing what was happening, right? And I saw him on the phone making a police report that the car was stolen. And I picked up the phone in the other room because this was back before cells, right? And it was his Alton. I was like, wow.
Wow.
And the light bulb went off.
Man, the only time in a relationship she lied to me, she told me it was big. That's crazy.
She talked about your dining room table? Like what was she?
His head, his
She was
ego.
talking about my ego.
Wow, I
Talking
thought that
about his
table was
ego.
big.
I got a question. Did he ever?
Thanks, babe.
Did you ever tell you, no one will want you but me?
All the time.
Yeah.
No one
And I
will
never
want you
believed
but
that.
me.
Oh yeah.
Or have you said this?
What a douchey move.
I remember my father always telling my sisters and my nieces, if I can't have you, no one will.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds creepy.
If anyone ever tell you that, you should leave.
Right?
Yeah.
With their eyes wide
If
open.
they make that comment and they own 3 cats, you should
Yeah.
leave.
And they have 3 cats. But it is true, though. And a lot of people stay in these relationships, too, because the most dangerous time for someone in that relationship is when they leave.
You know who's the scariest one of all? Ever see Wedding Crashers?
Yes.
I will find you.
So the girl
Right.
with the red hair, I loved her.
Oh my God! But anyway,
But
back
anyhow,
to this
back to
story.
this, yeah.
Okay, October 28th. All right. So this 15-year-old who has experienced this, along with the mother that we just established this scenario, the father, okay, Wesley Jordan Gales, 66 years old.
Not anymore.
Well, gets shot by the 15-year-old with a .22 caliber.
Yep.
Why? What was the situation? Bring us there.
They didn't really put out what led to it in this particular situation. So I'm sure that there must have been some sort of an altercation and he was sick and tired of watching his mother be abused, obviously. But they didn't give out any information, probably because it's still an ongoing investigation.
Okay.
So I don't know. But I do know that that he was released on a signature bond.
So
which
he's
means-
out. So
he's out.
Right. He got charged. Okay.
He's released from jail until the trial. And there is a lawyer that actually stepped up to the plate and reached out and is representing him at no charge because he said he feels as though this was a justified homicide. And I've never heard that term before. And I wish Lawyer Wayne were here right now to kind of explain that to me. But
Pro bono.
Pro bono. So that speaks volumes to what he must have gone through at home for somebody to take their time and their profession and put it on the line like that for somebody who just killed someone, right?
Essentially come down to that person has received so much trauma that they acted out of a traumatic event, almost like a crime of passion.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this guy's record, the father's, just this year, okay? In March, okay, he was arrested for cruelty to children and family violence battery.
September again.
All right, yep. He was accused of punching his wife, Deborah, okay, in the eye, kicking her in the head, throwing a DVD player down the hall. Who still has DVD players? But anyway, that's
And
besides the
kicking
point.
her in the privates.
Yeah, like a field goal.
That's awful.
After the responding officers noted blood coming from Deborah Gales' nose and marks on her body, they questioned Wesley, who admitted the verbal and physical altercation. And then, in September, Deborah, she called 911, and her husband allegedly threatened to shoot her son in the head. She added that her husband also, yes, like you said, Melissa, kicked her in the privates.
Horrible.
Yeah, so
that answered my question. I was going to ask where the firearm came from. Was it the father's? Did the son find it? I was wondering where he got the.
That's a good question.
That's a great
as a
question.
15-year-old,
right?
That
like
is a
where do you
great
come
question.
across with that? So but then when you said father threatened to shoot his, I'm assuming that the abusive
right.
father had the
Had the
handgun.
22.
Yeah.
How ironic how that karma worked out for him, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is this kid going to get off?
It's hard to say. I don't know. I guess it really depends on the extent of the abuse and the history there, right? To, like you had said earlier, to build up a case about that trauma that he had experienced throughout his whole life, and to warrant whether or not it, like he said, it was a crime of passion or he snapped or whatever the case may be. But I would really, personally, for me to guess and say whether or not I think he'll get off, I would really need to know a lot more about the history of what went on in that house.
Coach, you've dealt with stuff like this.
How old is he?
He's
15.
There's so many factors I would even probably guess, but I would say one is going to go by the last time that the abuse occurred. Last time he was visible seeing it.
Yeah.
The last time he experienced it or had contact with that person.
Right.
And what was his frame of mind at the time of the incident?
Okay. Interesting.
Intent is always number one.
Bay, you sat there, you took in all the information, you got the final say. What's your predictions?
Yeah, I think you're going to get off.
You think so?
Yeah, because that father been doing that for years, and ain't no telling what he done said to him and what done did to him,
And all you need is one juror, right?
I think so.
Right, is it?
I guess it depends on what you're facing, if it's life or if it's, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
I've never heard of a justified homicide in my life. Have you? I mean, people say it, but legally, I've never heard that used.
Lawyer Wayne.
He's
justified,
here? Perfect timing.
Justified homicide, Lawyer Wayne.
What
Yep.
is that? Can you explain that a bit?
I mean, somebody need to kill it.
So no.
Well, okay.
Call Lawyer Wayne.
Lawyer Wayne.
That went straight to the point.
Well, we'll find
What's
out.
up, killer?
We'll find out. Crime 411. Their link is right in this description. Okay, go check them out. Melissa, nice job that you're doing with help spreading the word and stories and relaying these people's messages.
Well, thanks for having me on all the time.
Too easy. Too easy.
It's the Joe Padula Show.
Bada bing.
Clarksville's conversation.